Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Thursday night broadcast. Excited to be here tonight. We're going to talk about what makes up a great financial plan. What are those key components that make up that great financial plan? And we're all here in this group and we're all wanting to plan for a happy retirement. But what exactly does that mean? What makes up a happy retirement? What makes up the key components of a great plan? So, welcome everybody back that's been in the group for a while. Welcome to all our new members. Glad you're here. Hit me up with a hashtag live or a hashtag replay down below if you are watching this as a replay. So let's just dive right in. So let me share a screen here with you real quick. Let's see. We'll go over to screen here. Here we go. So let me share this. Like retirement. There's a lot of different things that make up retirement. Okay, so there's tons of stuff that go into a plan, and this is a pretty crazy little screen here. So, retirement in the middle, you got goals, you got the future that you're planning for, money, what are your answers to what you want to do? You got pensions, you got a happy life, you got 401ks, insurance, health, all different kinds of things that make up a retirement plan. One of the biggest things, though, is having enough money to last your whole retirement. The other thing is, what do you want to do in retirement, right? So there's a lot of different things that make up a retirement. Okay. So let's dive in a little bit. And so one of the first things is setting the foundation. We want to start with what's your retirement why? Define your retirement why. What are your goals and purpose in retirement? We start with the non-financial things. We do this with all of our coaching clients as well as our normal clients, is that no matter which way you come in and who we help, we're going to start with your retirement why. What is your retirement what? Goals and purpose for retirement. What's going to bring you joy? What's going to bring you fulfillment in retirement? Are you going to, what do you want to do? Do you want to sit on the couch all day? Do you want to travel? Do you want to serve in the church? Do you want to give to charities? Whatever makes you tick, because that's going to determine how you plan the rest of your retirement, right? Talk about the non-financial things. What's your retirement why, right? Then we're going to go into what you got to figure out is the financial 101 pieces, right? If you're not good at financial 101s, then that's something that we can certainly help out with as well, and we do so in our coaching program. But you got to have budgets. You got to understand where your money's at and where it's going, right? So we're going to start with 101 basics. So I'm going to skip through that because that's a lot of components there. We actually have some videos on personal finance. Check those out. But you got to have a retirement budget. So take your current budget. You're going to figure out what that retirement budget is. Okay. Your retirement budget is going to be a little bit different. You kind of think forward to what your budget is going to look like in retirement. What's going to change for now in retirement? A lot of times it's about, I've seen it. Well, they say national average is about 75% of your current budget is what you're going to need in retirement. But I've seen it as low as 40. I've seen it as high as like 150. It really depends on you, right? But we got to project that out a little bit because we're going to back into the numbers. So you got to think about what your retirement budget looks like. So then so you're stacking on here, right? You figured out what your retirement why is, your purposes, goals, what you want to do. How am I going to, what's my budget around that? Okay. And then remember us, we talked a little bit about the treasure target. I posted that a few days ago. By the way, if you want a copy of that treasure target, just hit me up, send me a DM and say treasure target, and we'll get that over to you. But remember that treasure target has a couple different core segments there. You got live, give, grow, and O, right? Really, you're going to focus in on all four of those quadrants and working your way down into that ring in your financial 101 components and carry that through. You can start that now and then carry that through retirement, make adjustments as you go. So financial 101, treasure target, and then also think of the four H's of financial wisdom: the heart, health, habits, and hope, right? That's something from the Ron Blue Institute, but I absolutely love it. Heart, health, habits, and hope. Check that out. We've done, I posted a video yesterday on the heart section. We're kind of doing 4 different videos on that. But we'll do a whole session on that as well. But that's all tied into the financial 101 components. All right. So then you got to start thinking, transitioning into the actual retirement planning itself, right? So remember, we talked a little bit about that retirement peak. So let's go back. Let me pull this up. I want to make sure everybody remembers this. So let me share my screen again. Here we go. So remember this retirement peak. Okay. You can go back and watch past recordings or hit me up and, I can send you a link to this. There's different phases of retirement, right? You got to transition into a retirement mindset. You're going up the hill on that left side. You're accumulating funds. You're figuring out what your risk is. You get your plans together and whatnot. You get to that danger zone. You hit me up about the danger zone or go back to watch our replay. There's a lot to that danger zone. It's critical. And then, but the backside is what most people don't think about is that distribution to the drawdown phase, right? Is recreating your paycheck, which is basically what you're doing. You're figuring out retirement income, figuring out that downside and taking care of all those risks. I'm sure y'all remember all those different risks that we talked about. Okay. But you got to figure out this retirement peak, account for everything in this retirement peak. So transitioning into retirement planning, okay, that mindset shifting from an accumulation phase to a distribution phase is key. Okay. And as you're planning, we've got to factor in all those 6 different retirement risks, that we talked about earlier. Right. All right. So you got to get into that mindset. Then you're going to take an analysis of where you're at today. What funds do I have today? What are my assets? What have I saved up? What's my nest egg look like? Take an inventory of that. How much I have in each account? What types of accounts are they? Are they tax free, tax deferred? It's pure taxable, whatever it may be. Okay. So you got to take an inventory and analyze what those funds are. Right. And then you're going to go into the overview of basics investments for retirement. You got to start thinking of and shifting. Okay, I took an inventory of what those assets are. Where do I need to move them to? What do I need to do with them for retirement now that I'm not in the accumulation phase? Okay. And now a lot of that stuff carries out throughout the rest of the planning. So here's the thing. In our coaching program, we talk about and we run through the Retire Happy framework, right? It's a framework that we built to, quote, retire happy, right? And all the different steps about doing that. Now, the first couple of things I mentioned are all part of that. And then you start really diving into those different components, right? So in order to eliminate some of the risks, remember there's 6 different retirement risks. You got to eliminate or minimize those different risks, okay? And that's one of the first steps in the planning because you got to think about those throughout the plan. You got market risk, taxation risk, inflation risk, withdrawal rate risk, sequence returns risk, longevity risk, and there's a few other little miscellaneous ones. Okay. So during the framework, you're going to be minimizing those risks. And really that comes into the drawdown phase is where you start minimizing or getting rid of those different risks. You got to be cognitive of those throughout the whole thing. It's key to the whole framework. So the very first part I talked about is kind of the prep. That's the beginning of the framework, getting into the right mindset, being aware of these different risks, and make sure you're accounting for those all throughout. Okay. Then you got to move on to, remember, there's 3 different phases of retirement. There's the go-go years, the slow-go years, and the no-go years. Okay. Those are going to be funded differently because your expenses are different in each one of those. Let me pull up a different screen here, remind you of that retirement smile, that we've talked about. Share your screen here. Remember this retirement smile. When you begin retirement, you're active, your expenses are higher. Then it goes down a little bit in the sedentary because you're not doing as much, you're not spending as much. And then expenses go back up in the later phase because you might not be doing as much, but your healthcare costs are more, whether it's medical or whether it's long-term care or whatever it may be. But that expense line forms that little smile. Fits perfectly right into that Retire Happy framework, right? But you need to account for what are my funding strategies and my expense pay downs on each one of those different phases, right? And how you're going to, pull money out of what accounts. It's critical. Pardon me, guys. Let me stop sharing my screen here. So you got to account for each of those different segments, right? And that starts putting you into the drawdown phase, okay? The drawdown phase is, all right, where are we going to put our money for those 3 different areas, right? And there's actually 3 different tiers or buckets that you're going to have money sitting in. There's 3 different funding types, you will, 3 different types of buckets, right? You have the lower bucket, which is really the income bucket, which for your short term, 1 to 3 years of money that's sitting there. Second bucket is intermediate. That's 3 to 5 to 8 years out. And then your top one is 8 to 10 plus years out. And you're going to fund each of those differently, right? And they kind of trickle down into each other. Okay. But those funding buckets play along right around with those stages for those different stages and how you're going to fund it. Okay. And remember us talking about the risk and mitigating those risks or eliminating the risk based on how uh, and where you put your funds in what investment vehicles, uh, it's going to determine how those are funded out of those different buckets. Okay. So remember us talking about the distribution phase is critical, and how and when you take your funds out of different accounts are key, right? And then one of the last pieces, that's the, the drawdown. You're figuring out what that looks like. And it's not just like the 4% rule. It's much more granular than that, because we want to make sure your money lasts, that you don't run out of money in retirement. And the last part of the retirement happy framework is giving generously. God loves a cheerful giver. And hopefully we're all planning for being able to give generously in retirement, whatever that looks like, whether it's your time, talents, or your treasure. So it could be money, it could be your time, it could be utilizing your talents to help others around and serve those around. How are you going to build that into your retirement? So the retire happy framework kind of starts with purpose and goals and what's going to bring you joy in retirement, and it encapsulates at the backside with giving generously. Two great things that are going to bring joy and happiness into your retirement. What makes you tick for retirement? What do you want to do in your purpose? And then giving generously in retirement as well. So we kind of end cap both sides of the framework with those positive components. And so that's a really core, simple, narrowed, quick view of the framework. And obviously, there's little details inside of each of those, right? And then there's some miscellaneous considerations that hang around the outside of the framework: estate planning, wills and trusts, those kind of things. Insurance planning and asset protection are all part of that as well, because you got to have a plan for all of that. Those are kind of the different key components. If you're in one thing we didn't specifically call out in here, but it's in the no-go years, is that if you don't have a plan for long-term care and health and retirement, you don't have a full plan. If you don't have the distribution phase planned for, and how specifically you're going to withdraw your money out of different accounts, you don't have a full plan, right? So that's really down and dirty, some of the basics of the Retire Happy framework. That Retire Happy framework is what we go through in our coaching programs that we've helped a lot of people out with, taking them through that, get educated, and end up with a plan that accounts for all those different things. If you want to know more information, let me stop sharing my screen here. I already did. If you want to know more information about a proper framework and the proper components, want more information on what we talked about here tonight, if you want to talk to me a little bit about it, just down in the comments below, just put the word plan. Put the word plan in the comments below, and we'll reach out to you and talk to you a little bit about the plan. So, there's a lot, I threw a lot out here, but it's just really a summary of all those different components. Go back and watch one of the videos that we did on the Retirement Are You Ready? And it talks a lot about those different components as well. That video, I think, is maybe 30, 45 minutes, something like that. It really talks about why you need to have a good plan in place. This is some of the key components that you need around that. So again, hit me up with the hashtag live or replay down at the bottom. Let me know how you're watching. If you want to have more information around the plan, go down to the bottom, type plan in the comments. It will be great to reach out to you and talk to you. So guys, I hope this is helpful. Hit me up with any questions that you have. Watch the post here coming soon. There's going to be some cool announcements coming out here in the next few days. Hit me up with any questions, guys. Y'all